All right, David McKinney here from GatewayMMA.com, and with us today we have the NAAFS 205-pound champion, Dan Dragon Spohn, will be taking on Dane Bonnigson this Saturday at Bellator 51 in Canton. First off, Dan, how you doing? Wrapping up training and everything.
Doing great, actually. I'm feeling really good. A little antsy because I haven't been able to train full go taper week, but to the fight.
So let's just jump right into it, talking about your fight with Dane Bonnigson. Obviously, he's a guy who's been around Ohio for a while. Only 1-1 as a pro, but he has an amateur background as well. How do you see this matchup with you and Bonnigson going into this fight?
I think I think personally it's a good matchup for me, and I think my coaches agree. We've seen his videos, we've got to watch him, and did really well as an amateur, and I think that we're going to try to just exploit everything we can and just work our game.
Right, and sort of surrounding the fight, I don't know how much of this you want to talk about, but I have to ask you. I know that you've at least you're sort of in the mind of the people at Bellator who make the decisions on the fighters that they want. I know that you've been to the open trials that they've done and everything. How do you see this fight playing into a potential future in Bellator?
Well, I'd like to think of this as kind of an audition for him almost. It's me having the opportunity, I guess, to come out there and show him what I can do, and maybe impress him enough to go ahead and say, okay, here you go, and get on this tournament and try to win it so we can see what you got.
Right, and obviously, they recently, actually in their last season, had their first 205-pound tournament, but pretty soon they're definitely going to have to be looking for a top challenger for that belt. That's obviously something that you'd be interested in if that opportunity arose.
Definitely, yes. That's right now. That's actually kind of where, other than my present fight this Saturday, my mind's pretty much set for trying to get that belt. And once I'm set on something like that, I'm just going to continue to train and try to make it all the way.
Right, and I know that you've been around Ohio for a while. Obviously, you're the NAAFS champ, and you've competed extensively as an amateur as well. How excited are you after this fight? And not necessarily looking ahead, but you've kind of have already, in my opinion and the opinion of a lot of people, you've already beaten everybody that you can beat at 205 in the Ohio area. How excited are you about the prospect of proving on a bigger stage that you can go out and compete with those national talents and guys, top prospects from other areas of the country?
Actually, I'm very excited. I'm extremely excited because I just want to show everybody that I'm here to compete in MMA, like you just said, in the worldwide stage, and I just want to have that opportunity because I think that's just going to push me and make me to be the best fighter, best martial artist that I can be, so I'm extremely excited.
Okay, and with that obviously comes a step up in competition. How are you preparing yourself to go from sort of the local regional scene to the competition on a national level?
I think the best way to prepare for that is I've been working with George Pagel at JGMMA and working with Rich Franklin and these guys that have already had these national level experience, and some of these guys that are really well-known pro fighters and have been there and fought who's who in UFC, and I think that's what's going to be my key to success as far as national goes.
Okay, and a fight that I look at that sort of proves to me that you can probably fight with any 205-pound fighter out there is your fight with Josh Hendricks, which is a fight, I don't know if a lot of people have seen it, but it's a fight that you actually won off of your back against a guy who had been in the UFC and a guy who had more pro fights than you, at least. I'm not sure what the total number of fights, but you actually won that fight off your back, which is something that doesn't really happen a lot, and you won it off of your back striking. Is that an area where you feel comfortable, on your back, just period, but especially on your back striking? Because it was funny, I had actually talked to Josh Williams, your coach at Buckeye MMA, who I know you also train with, and he said that that was a distinct possibility that you could win that fight off of your back against Josh Hendricks, and then that's the exact way that it happened. Is that somewhere where you're comfortable? I mean, I know a lot of fighters aren't comfortable on their back, but is that somewhere where you are comfortable?
Yes, actually, I feel really comfortable on my back. I don't really let myself panic. I've worked jiu-jitsu enough to have a pretty good guard game, and it's only gotten better working with George
Right, and a thing that I think is really smart and actually really interesting is the fact that you sort of split your time between two different gyms and two gyms who are kind of known for different things and have different types of fighters. You're at JG MMA with a guy like a former world champion like Rich Franklin, who you're obviously going to be learning a lot from. Rich and George and all those guys down there. But then you also come up to Columbus to Buckeye MMA, and it seems like there you're kind of almost like a senior member. You're the guy that's teaching a lot. Can you talk just a little bit about going from being the teacher to a lot of times being sort of a leader in the gym at a place like Buckeye?
Yes, actually it's a pretty interesting experience. It's nice to be able to come in somewhere and have that experience and kind of feel like you know what you're doing, and then the next day you go up somewhere and you feel like you're the new guy almost. I mean, you go in there and try to do this and try to do that, and the things that might work with someone that's a little less experienced just doesn't apply. And I think that kind of experience is really helping me to evolve more as a fighter and helping me become more well-rounded just every day I train.
Right, and I definitely thought that was a really unique, because I talked to a lot of the Buckeye guys, and then I know that, obviously, no disrespect to you, but a guy like Rich Franklin, I'm sure is probably going to beat you up a little bit, and George is probably going to beat you up a little bit, but then, a lot of the guys at Buckeye, like a Don Germany, and a lot of the younger guys there, I'm sure that you can show them a lot of things, so it kind of, it in my opinion, it has to just, it has to help you as a fighter, because, there's that fine line you have to walk between, being able to beat up the guys a little bit and teach them, and also, being able to learn at the same time. So I thought that was, really interesting. I definitely wanted to ask you about that. Another thing I wanted to ask you about is kind of, how you're sort of transitioning into trying to become a full-time fighter, which, unfortunately in this sport, not a ton of people, not a ton of fighters get that advantage to be a full-time fighter. And I know that you've sort of, I don't know how recently it has been, but I know that there have been stories out there, about how you want to make fighting your full-time job, and how, in order, you realize in order to be a world champion, on an elite level, that you have to make it your full-time job. Can you just talk a little bit about, being a full-time fighter and maybe even a little bit of the struggles? I know that, you have a family and kids as well, and fighting, it makes it tough to put food on the table.
Oh yeah, it has a lot of difficulties. It's definitely hard, but like you said, it's something you just have to dedicate yourself to and be really disciplined and try to make it through and see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that if you continue and fight, like if I keep going where I'm at, I'm going to make it where I want to be and where my family wants to be. And it's definitely got ups and downs, and we've had a lot of hardship already just trying to make this work, and that's why we think we're right there on that edge, and we want to make this work for Bellator and try to get on that tournament. And I think that that would be the key for me having a successful career in fighting and providing for my family and not having to take out little odds and ends here and there all the time and try to fight professionally as a pro at a full level career.
Right, and I know, with that in mind, obviously, the people who help put food on your table are going to be your sponsors. Any sponsors, anybody you want to thank, before we get out of here?
Oh yeah, I guess I'd like to start with my biggest sponsor. He's my manager, Jeff Ferguson, and he owns King Time Designs, and he does great work with t-shirts. He does all our print work, all our t-shirt work, and helps us out with networking and managing and marketing and just about everything. And he's a great guy, a great person. I really enjoy having him there, and actually I have to thank my mom because she's pretty much a sponsor for so much babysitting she does, helping us out. And we couldn't do it without her because it's pretty expensive. And I think definitely Intimidation Clothing, and I think George Fugel, because he helps out so much with the training and with all this great work we get in, and Rich Franklin, all those guys up there, and I just really enjoy being like a full-time member of their team now, and all my sponsors, NGU, and all the guys that contribute to helping us and helping my family while I work as becoming a better fighter.
All right, Dan, and that's all I have for you. Like I said, definitely, I know there are a lot of people out there rooting for you. So definitely, it seems like a lot of the fighters have, gone from just being on the local scene to being on the national scene. I think that you're one of those guys that is really, one of the next guys who's pegged as, one of those guys who can do it. So, definitely excited to see you get your opportunity on Saturday.